record. It's
Oh,
recording.
now she's recording.
Can you see that it's recording?
Yes.
Okay,
We're good now.
All right, so for those of you who didn't make it today, who are watching this recording, the only thing I have done thus far is share my screen and show, I hope it's showing my shared screen, I don't know. I'm showing the new schedule, the Corona Armageddon schedule, and talking about how Quiz 4 is still due March 20th. I changed the due date to give you guys an extra bit of time. If you're one of the paper extension people, just get in contact with me and we'll work on it remotely, which is kind of like what I do anyway. I usually download your paper and help edit it and send it back. If you're done with that, good on you. That's a plus. All right, so we're still doing the take-home quizzes. This class is actually perfect for online. It's great because you got your CBTs already. Is anyone unable to access things like CBTs from where you're at? I mean, pretty easy? Okay, cool. Email me if at any point you're unable to access something that you need. Okay, as far as the posters, that's up in the air. I think you guys should be able to create them if you have, I can't, I think I'm getting sick. So if you have PowerPoint or Publisher, then you can do a poster.
Wait, PowerPoint?
PowerPoint, yeah.
Oh, I don't have Publisher, so I have PowerPoint.
Okay,
Yeah,
so if you
just
have
go
PowerPoint,
change the slide size and make it really big.
This
yeah,
meeting has been
and
created
technically, if we're not meeting again, what we're gonna do, and it's, oops, running out of time?
No.
Now includes unlimited minutes.
Sweet, okay. So here's the thing. At the bottom of the schedule, I'm gonna go down here. All right, contingency plan for poster presentations is going to involve, if me and Ann Betcher can sit in the same room together and watch your poster presentations, you're gonna make an appointment with us and we're gonna do a private Zoom. Maybe everybody should do, actually that sounds kind of cool. You guys can judge each other.
Sounds awful.
I'm gonna rethink that. I'm gonna think through this. So it might just be like, basically pull up your screen, share your screen, which has your poster on it, and give me a 5-minute spiel on what you researched. Okay, and that's just gonna have to do. We're just gonna pretend that you're standing in front of me at, what do you call it? Poster presentation day.
Do we have to dress up? It's a valid question.
It is a valid
It's a
question.
valid question.
Hey, you just got to do the top. You don't even have to do pants.
Yeah, just put on the
Fair.
jacket. Like, I gotta be honest, okay, right now, do you see this? That's my PJs. Right.
Half only.
There's no point in
The
being.
top half, yeah.
Right. I did put on a top that actually wasn't a PJ top. All right, so number one, name of the game is finish your CBTs. A lot of your grade is going to be dictated on that. Do not miss your quizzes. They're still due on the dates on Canvas and on the schedule. If you happen to see one that I forgot to change on Canvas, please let me know. And for now, since we're recording this now, how do I get rid of this? Yes, there we go. You can see what I was working on. I'm also going to have to homeschool a 7 and 8-year-old. So,
Oh.
The very best of luck to you with that.
Any
I
volunteers?
had a question regarding the CBTs.
Sure.
Is that just a completion grade, or is that like, say, our cumulative grade on all the quizzes and exams
gosh,
is
it's just
like a 90% or on the certificate or whatever? Do we get a 90, or is it just you turned in the certificate?
You turn in the certificates, and I hit 500 enter. Got it? Easy.
All right.
So I will never actually be able to view your score. That's private login stuff. What I can view is the 2 PDFs that you're going to submit via Canvas. So literally, whenever you get done with that, you can submit the PDFs.
What are these PDFs now?
Let me show you real quick. It's on the wrong side. Okay. Count. Inside assignments. And I don't know what it looks like for students, but I'm going to give it a shot here. You are going.
Did you change it for like student view?
I don't know if I can do what I'm about to do in student view, but I'll try in a sec. So you've got CBT walk around and Imperial, 2 files. You go in like this, 500 points. Each one is worth 250. So if you forget to submit one of them, I'm going to give you a 250, which would not be good. A file upload is how you do it. So PDF is how your certificates come out. And let's see who's submitted it. Oops, where'd it go?
Someone has submitted it?
Probably. You
You're
guys
kidding.
Is it an overachiever?
Now you've got all the time in the world to do this. So let's see. See what we got.
If there's a single person that submitted this, I'm gonna be like, what?
It doesn't show you any grades or anything. It just shows you.
That's okay.
See, this is how I see it. All right. So like if you submitted it, Jake, it would show you links right here, and I will open them up, view them, make sure it's got your name on it, and then I go 500 submit. Okay, cool.
You can just put that in right now for me. I'm okay with that.
Oh, yeah, you good
I was
with
gonna say
that?
that. Wait, all those people didn't submit it, or did submit it, or did not?
Did not.
Oh, okay.
That's
I was
me.
like, Jimmy submitted it. There's no way,
Not yet.
no way in hell.
I sometimes forget where we're at in this semester. So real quick, let's hit the highlights of the environmental control system. Most of this is automatic to you guys. You don't need to know quite a bit of this. CBTs, as usual, go into way too much detail. ACSC 1 and 2, I want you to remember what ACSC stands for. It's Air Conditioning System Controllers. They just monitor everything, fully redundant. And the bottom line is, if active fails, the standby assumes the active role, and there's no ICAS indication to you of which one is active, because you don't care. If it's working, it's working. Next one, pressure and temperature regulation. Who can pipe in and tell me what the pressure is in the that the ACSCs control? Total pressure in the system. No one?
It's just 3,000.
That's hydraulic system.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. That's fine.
Isn't it to like 14,000 feet or something, or is that just way off?
Oh, I'm talking PSI. So PSI
Oh,
out of the engines. You
8.5 or something.
45 PSI. So remember that's a number you got to remember. So temperature regulation is basically it's the temperature of the packs. You reach up and set the temperature for the cabin. Here's a really nice schematic. Let me zoom in on this. Gosh, I love these schematics that were like taken from a picture out of a manual. You're gonna do more in the way of fully understanding this when you're an actual airline pilot, but for now, take it with a grain of salt. There's pre-coolers. It's just like your air conditioning system in your house. You ever seen that thing dripping? Takes the water out of the air, etc. So the left pack supplies air to the flight deck. I don't want that's semi-important because if you're troubleshooting, you guys ever seen what was the movie where the pilots, is it Sully? Troubleshooting the packs? It was a movie. Left pack typically supplies air to the flight deck. You typically start the left engine first as well. So, okay, moving on. Flow control valves or pack valves. One thing you're going to take away from the slide, the one thing that's most important is that it closes when the engine start switch light is pressed. That's why when you're sitting in the back of that Southwest jet and you get started, it gets stinky and hot for a second because the pack valves are closing during engine start. Electronically controlled, pneumatically operated. So if there's no air coming through them, they're not going to open or work. If you take electricity away from them, they're also going to shut. Heat exchangers, questions on that? Basic stuff. We already went over anti-ice, right? I feel like we did.
I think that was the last unit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It feels like it's been forever.
Like 2.5 weeks.
It's been, yeah, it's been a long time. So as I'm sure you guys have forgotten a lot. I understand. So heat exchangers, really what you need to know is, I was talking to a friend about bleed air and how it works. It's hot when it comes out of the engines. You don't want that in the cargo compartments. A lot of cooling systems that take care of this. heat exchangers, secondary heat exchangers. I don't expect you to really memorize any of that. James, you look like you're sleeping. What is? Single you out now.
You're still calling people out. Are you kidding me?
I was sending a text.
Are you actually kidding me?
James, what is this thing that you're looking at here?
That's the RAM air cooler.
It's the
Thing.
ram air duct.
Yeah.
There, it's just taking in ram air. So good. Elle, what are we looking at? What are these big tan things?
Ooh, the word. It's the
Take a guess.
I don't know.
Anyone? It's just so what you're looking at here at the top, boom, that's where it comes in, and it's the ducts that carry it throughout the airplane. So these are just big ducts.
So they're just more ducts.
That?
These are just more ducts.
More ducts, big ducts. Lots of air pressure coming in that ram air scoop. Imagine if you're going Mach 0.83 and it's coming in that scoop. That's why we need pressure regulation, things like that. So for your air conditioning packs, what's this red thing?
ELT.
Yep. Okay. These are output valves. We'll talk about them more in later
Wait,
sections.
so where is that ELT like in the plane? Like where are we looking in the plane right now?
We right now are looking in the very back section underneath the APU section where this would be on the ceiling.
Okay.
No way you could reach it without a ladder, I've been told. In fact, pilots aren't going to go back there and access any of that stuff. And here's the outflow valves and some more outflow valves. You got safety valves and outflow valves, and that's later on in this, so I won't steal my own thunder here. When I was recording the videos, I went over this in great depth just to have the videos completely dump on me, but that's okay. We'll go through it again. Number one thing, see the safety valve over here? It says safety valve times 2. Hey, look at that. Hey, safety valve times 2. And then see this outflow valve? The outflow and the safety valve regulate what?
Air.
Pressure.
Pressure
Pressure.
I guess.
in the cabin.
Yeah. So when you're a co-pilot or FO, as the case may be, you're gonna do several check rides just to get through training, and then you're gonna do more check rides later on. My favorite thing as instructor slash co-pilot, my favorite thing was walking around the airplane before the check ride even gets started, and you look like a total insert expletive if you have no idea what these things are. If the instructor points to that and says, what is that, and you have no clue, it doesn't look good for you. So do give these things a bit of a study and understand all the holes in the airplane, all the what's the word I'm looking for, antennas, things like that. Really makes you look smart. You want to start off on the right foot. So usually it starts with a face-to-face oral on the ground, and then you do a walk around. And if you look like a total buffoon in the walk around, it just makes your check ride a lot harder. How do I know this?
I wonder.
Been there, done that. The whole, I don't know what the VHF antenna is. That bit me once when I was a brand new co-pilot. Conditioned air, you can basically see how the recirc works. This is how we all get the coronavirus when we fly in a commercial jet now. Conditioned air full of germs, it enters the cabin at the ceiling, sidewalls, and the gaspers. You know those gaspers that you turn on up above you? And then it's exhausted at floor level. Hey, did anyone pre-study? I know you guys have been so busy pre-studying.
Yeah, 100%.
Very funny.
Exactly what we did on spring break.
No, totally.
Jake,
While
tell
you
me-
were just skiing.
Not like I went like horribly shopping for the past 2 days trying to find food.
I know, me
I
too.
used to not find ground beef. I was trying to make some tacos yesterday.
I feel that.
Like 3
I've
stores.
got a ton of ground beef, but apparently I'm not. I can't go. So anyway, Jake, I was going to ask you a question. You. What room in the airplane do you think is not recirculated throughout the cabin? What's the one place you wouldn't want the air recirculated? Elle's raising her hand.
We'll give it to Elle then.
I'm guessing you wouldn't want like the actual cockpit air recirculated, right?
I was gonna say the bathroom
Yeah, the bathroom.
Oh,
It's
really?
100% the bathroom.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just guessed. I was like, I don't know, a bathroom. Like, why would it be recirculated there? That would stink.
But what if someone like released a toxin and then that air recirculated into the cockpit?
Guess they
I mean, the cockpit isn't
Oh.
airtight though.
it's
No,
not,
but like, wouldn't you want separate air, like that's not associated with the cabin air?
I don't know how they would even get to the air in general if they were to release a toxin. I doubt that would happen.
you guys are
I
so
just
brilliant. You're stealing my thunder. Go to the next slide. Look at this.
Oh, sorry.
Left pack recirculated air provided to the flight deck gas burst vent inside. So that's also your backup cooling source for ICAS, and then there's a button. Hang on, I'm going to show you how it works. Where's the button? There it is. See this recirc button? I wouldn't worry about toxins being released. I mean, if they're going to release a toxin, they're going to kill themselves and everybody else, and
That's true.
That's why you guys got O2 mask up there.
they want to be able to fly it into something, right? So this air conditioning button here with the big red circle on it, the recirc on and off, allows you to either get sick because everyone else is by pushing it on, or pushing it up to off, and it doesn't recirc through the cabin. When it gets to you, it's just off the left pack. That's what they told me at Mesa. So they called this literally the get sick button. It's not a button, it's a switch, but
that's
So do you think
crazy.
that pilots are currently leaving that off right now?
I would. I certainly would. I'm on a couple Facebook forums with pilots, and there's a lot of them getting sick right now. It's no bueno. You guys are really lucky you're not out in the industry yet, because
Well, SkyWest sent all of their new hires home yesterday.
Same with United. They canceled
Yeah.
the Aviate new hires.
Oof.
are they like
A bunch of the.
And no,
I don't
I
know,
think it's
but
just like postponed
Oh.
unless they go
Some of the-
bankrupt.
some of the flight instructors that just float over to SkyWest, they're like, yeah, they sent us. They like quarantine us and they sent us home.
probably just because of the CDC telling people they can't meet in groups of 10.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, because the airlines are also out of money.
You guys heard about San Francisco, right?
No.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
bunch
no,
of
it's already
buddies in the Bay.
quarantined.
It's on full lockdown. Like, you're arrested if you go anywhere, I guess. I don't know how people are going to survive
It's past midnight.
past midnight.
That's what my friend San Francisco's been telling me. They can't go out after midnight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can still sort of go places.
Oh, my
Hi,
God.
Casey. Oh, hi, Casey.
Oh my god, Casey.
Okay, let's get through this so we can say that we went through this. We circ air from the passenger cabin, which is what you kind of don't want right now. This is how it works. Here's a little picture of the duct. I think it's not showing you. Tell me what happens when I do this. Whoops. Okay. What do you see now? Just my.
We see the
This
notes.
dual screen, like you're presenting something.
Okay.
Oh, but it's moving.
It's moving. I'm clicking.
Ooh.
Look at that. That's pretty cool. Okay. I kind of like this better. So,
It's smaller too, so thank God.
yeah. Recirc air. And I think, ooh, I have an idea. Display settings. Swap. Hey, a real presentation. How cool is that? My dogs are snoring behind me. Really? Faint. Can you see him? He's loudly snoring. Apparently I'm not holding their interest very well. Fainty. Okay. Left, right, recirc ducts. All right, where were we? All this recirc is controlled by that single switch. It's a very important switch right there.
The 6.
The get sick switch. Okay. Auto temperature control is basically, you don't have to think about it. It's monitored by one sensor, and the passenger cabin has several sensors. Here's the important slide. This is where you can tell, I pulled 4 or 5 multiple choice questions into the bank from this. So actual and selected temperatures on the ECS only. Selected actual. So here, 22 and 20. Obviously, you have 22 selected and it's not quite warmed up yet. Passenger cabin temperature is on the ICAS status page. So it's both places, but see the actual temp, 20 degrees over here. So status displays the actual temp, and then ECS displays your selected and actual. Questions on that? Okay. It's just fancy stuff that you don't really need. Manual temperature control. You can actually use a toggle switch to change the temperature control. This is a really great thing to argue about with the other pilot. I spent many years arguing with flight engineers. Flight engineers are like usually big dudes. They're always hot. They want it to be 55 degrees in the flight deck, and I was freezing. So increase or decrease temperature, I'll show you this right here. Manual, look at that. Cockpit and cabin. You go manual. What happens if this fault light comes on?
Your AC is blown out.
Well, well, technically the test answer is that the pack shuts down. So the pack valves close at that point. Welcome to the party, whoever just showed up. This is being recorded, so you can go through and listen to what we just talked about. It'll be rather entertaining, I think. So notice this right here, this hot-cold toggle switch on left and right. So this would be your cockpit hot-cold. This would be your cabin hot-cold.
Jonah, who just walked behind you? The ghost.
No. We're still living in a dorm, okay?
I know. Sorry. Does anyone need a soothing look at my fish?
Yes.
Okay, I want to show you something. I don't think I can do it with the... Okay. Do you see these weird fish that I have? See how they all hang there, sort of upside down? No, they're looking at me now.
You gotta go closer.
I can't. I'm attached to the power cord and it's not working. Those are tiger barbs. And they like...
I love that.
They're all like schooled over on this side always when I'm sitting here looking at me. It's mildly creepy.
They want to be with you.
I know. Sorry, guys. It's weird. Stare at me. Meanwhile, my dog is snoring. Okay, moving on. Airflow monitored by sensors. I don't care that you know these numbers. So can you still see my slides?
Oh, thank God. Yes.
You don't memorize that, please. This one, maybe it's a multiple choice question. I think I asked you on single pack operation. In the 900, 250, and the 700, you can actually go higher.
Why?
Because the 900 is stretched fuselage, so there's more, basically there's more volume to pressurize, and the engines aren't that much more powerful than the 700, so they have to work extra hard.
But that's like a lot. That's like 6,000. That's a lot.
It is. Technically, you could show up to work and have one of the packs MEL'd out. Technically, if that happens and you got this MEL, you got to make sure your dispatchers haven't planned you for a higher flight level and filed you for that. I can't imagine you'd actually accept an airplane with one pack, because if the other one fails, you're going to depressurize. But in theory, you could. So fault switch is a over temperature or over pressure condition, and it's going to automatically close the valves. You must manually reset them per the QRH, and if for some reason they don't reset, you're going to be descending to 10,000 feet. Why would you ever use a ram air shutoff valve? I can't think of a reason why you would. But you have
maybe you're ingesting hail or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in like a storm, like snow or something.
Well,
is there a reason, or is there like not a reason, like totally not a reason?
Volcanic ash.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, would volcanic ash be one?
Maybe. Maybe. You're going to fly through a volcanic cloud. You got bigger fish to fry. You've got engines that are going to ingest, and you're going to be shutting things down. So
like my question is like, why do you have it if like you don't ever like use it?
I don't know. It's like this next slide, this ram air valve here. Do you see the plexiglass black?
Do not open.
It's only for unpressurized flight. And in the airlines, if you're flying unpressurized, you're having a really bad day. That's weird. I used to unpressurize the airplane at about 10,000 feet in combat only. Why? Why would I unpressurize the C-130 at 10,000 feet?
Because you're going to get shot at and get bullet holes in the side of your plane and depressurize.
If a bullet hits you anywhere in the fuselage, then it's like, poof. If you're pressurized, that hole can open up. In the airlines, I'm not sure why you would do that. It also makes you sick, unpressurizing like that, super high.
Oh yeah, altitude sickness.
It's just doing it over and over, especially because we used to do like 4 or 5 different hops in a day. It would make me sick eventually because it's cold up there, blah, blah, blah. Wah. All right, next slide. Status page. Why did we just go over this? I feel like we just went over this. Actual cabin temperature on the status. ECF's synoptic page does selected and actual. All right, here's this picture again of the air conditioning panel. And so air from the left recirc fan ventilates the cargo bay when the intake and exhaust valves are open. That's standard. If the left recirc fan fails or the recirc switch is selected off, conditioned air from the mixing manifold fed to the aft cargo bay. So,
why did they decide to put the intake on the floor? Because it kind of seems like for germ-wise, it seems like a dangerous place if you have, like, where everyone's luggage is sitting on the floor.
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's just weird.
I'll have to answer that with an I don't know, and it's just how they all are. The big thing, remember the forward and aft cargo bay, where you put the miniature pony? We've done this before. Don't put your miniature pony or your doofy poodle
in the aft.
The forward cargo bay. It's not ventilated or air conditioned. All right, and this, I would just give this slide a quick study before the test because off obviously closes intake and exhaust. What else? Questions on this? This toggle switch is just outlined what it does. Smoke detectors. Yeah, there's multiple choice questions on this. Hate to tell you, you got to know 3 in forward cargo, 2 in aft cargo. Just memorize that, or at least be able to look it up in time. This is also information you're going to be tested on in the fire protection. So double whammy. It's on this quiz and the fire protection quiz. I do not care that you know how the routing of the air flows in this cathode ray tubes, just that you know that they can't run without cooling air. And then remember talking about how these things are, this is another schematic of how it works. We don't really care that much. We know that cathode ray tubes need to be cooled, so there's a ground fan and a flight fan. You can actually change how it works. Not going to ask you too much on that. Not too much on how that works. Display fan used in flight and on ground, so basically it's ventilating the displays. There's an avionics fan. You got to keep avionics very cool. So, and the more advanced the avionics, the cooler it has to be, which is why the E model C-130, which had like 0 avionics, we could operate that thing at like 300 degrees. It was insane how hot it was in there. And when I transferred to the Talon 2, we had a lot of avionics and it had to be like 65 degrees in there. So it's kind of a welcome relief. Someone's calling me. Okay. As far as exhaust fans, again, not something I'm going to ask you about too much. We're getting to it. We're getting to it. Hold on. Ground valve. We already talked about that. This is way TMI on the ground valve. Emergency depress on the ground. The valve opens at full speed, which is 2 seconds. Nice picture. We're just looking at the systems that were in the schematics. Kind of cool though. It shows you where it is in the airplane. Okay. Here we go. Cabin pressure controllers. You got 1 outflow valve, triple redundancy electric motors. Very important valve. And then you got 2 safety valves that work if the 1 outflow valve with triple redundancy somehow fails. You got an emergency depress switch, which you can hit, but you got to lift a plexiglass switch cover. Pressure controllers, basically all control outputs sent to the outflow valve. Wait on wheel plus 3 minutes is when they automatically switch to ground mode. Questions on outflow valves? Okay, it's just a controlled leak through the outflow valve. Safety valves are really only for when this fails. So you got this and 2 safety valves. There they are. They look like pucks. And this is fully open, obviously. It's calibrated based on the pressure that you set. You can do a manual increase, decrease for cabin pressure, but usually going to use the isobaric controls. And you're just going to have it set at 8,000 feet for cabin pressure. Stop me if I'm going too fast. Here's the basically cabin altitudes here at 6,000 feet, and the rate is decreasing at 500 feet per minute. Change in pressure 8.0. I'm not sure what that means, but all right. That's where it is though. Primary page, manual pressurization only. So when you start using that switch to manually pressurize, it'll pop up on the primary page. Okay, safety valve prevents overpressure and negative pressure conditions. You ever squeezed a soda can? That's negative pressure. Positive pressure is better for an airplane than negative pressure. Okay. And differential pressure will be your warning if you have an issue. What do I want you to know about the CPCPs or CPAM? This is so much more fun when we can play Kahoot afterwards. This limits cabin altitude to 14.5 plus or minus 500 feet. That's the number you're going to have to know. The oxygen mass drop at 14,000 feet cabin altitude. Not altitude, but cabin altitude. Said that really fast. Test question. 14,000 feet is when the O2 masks drop. Okay. More schematics, my favorite. We're not going to go over that schematic too much. I think there's exactly one question on this, and I believe it has to do with the normal pressure differential, 8.5 psid, but it's helpful to know that 0.1 is the limit for taxi, takeoff, and landing. If you have pressure on the airplane, you got to egress the airplane, the door will fly open and people will fall. The automatic pressurization mode's very important when you become an FO to understand how all this works. As far as what you need to know, the pre-pressurization mode is what I put on the quiz. So it's on the ground when thrust levers are advanced for takeoff. So you get ready to take off, the cabin pressurizes itself to 150 feet below actual field elevation. And the MESA instructor could not, for the life of him, answer me the question, why that it does that. It's strange. If you do abort the takeoff, it goes back. So when the thrust levers are retarded, it's driven back to field elevation at 500 feet per minute for 20 seconds. Why does it pre-pressurize? I don't know. The climb mode is a very gentle 300 to 500 feet per minute, and cruise is basically, for every cruise altitude, there's a cabin altitude. Not above 8,000 feet though. Descent mode, approximately 300 feet per minute. So nice and gentle for your passengers. Emergency depress is a manual DC motor that drives the outflow valve open. Slowly when you're at altitude and in 2 seconds when you're on the ground. Here's the voice message. If you get over 8,500 feet cabin altitude, you get a cabin pressure. System testing, it tests itself basically continuously. There's another picture of it, and then we go through a bunch of pictures of it. There it is. So there's only 2 warnings: the cabin altitude over 10,000 feet, and then differential pressure when the excessive cabin differential pressure is detected of over 8.6 plus or minus 0.1 psid. Questions on what I'm going to ask you? Okay. What do you do in a rapid decompression?
Descent.
Panic? Don, your oxygen?
I said descent, but I mean, it also says right there, so I don't know.
No, I mean, yes, you'll have your hands full of airplane. You're going to be descending. You're going to be wanting to talk to ATC at the same time, especially if you're in busy airspace. But what was hammered into me during training was never forget your own self. If you're at 30,000 feet and you don't don your oxygen mask, you're going to be unconscious before you get to 10,000 feet. I can tell you. Has anyone gone through the altitude chamber training yet?
I really
No.
wanted to at the Women in Aviation conference, and they were like completely booked by all the exhibitors.
That
It's
sucks.
very unfortunate.
Kind of fun. It'll show you what getting drunk without alcohol feels like.
I love that.
It'll give you a real perspective on how fast you go completely loopy if you're at altitude and something like this happens. So number one thing is don the oxygen mask, turn on the comm switch so you can hear each other. And then that's what it said. I didn't even read the QRH there. Oxygen mask don, crew communications, switch it on. Go from mask, or excuse me, boom to mask. Then you start talking to ATC. But hey, at the end of the day, if you have TCAS, let
You'll
everyone
be fine.
let everyone else scatter. Who cares? You're the one that's, you basically have to keep your passengers alive at all costs without hitting someone or terrain.
Fair.
Yeah, don't hit terrain.
Hitting terrain kind of not keep them alive.
Yeah, it's a really good technique to stay above all terrain unless your wheels are down and you're landing on a runway. Just a good technique. Ditching a forced landing, it says pack switches off and deep press on. Good luck.
I want to try something. What do you see when I say raise hand?
Oh yeah, I see. I'd have to be looking at that.
What?
I'd have to be looking at that screen at the right time.
Yeah, the participant screen.
So, yeah, so we did environmental. This lesson is long. We've got 2 PowerPoints, so bear with me. You guys can also, I don't know how these things are going to be posted as far as, how do I post a video? I don't know. Pneumatics. Pneumatics, this slideshow, luckily for all of us who are getting tired of listening to me talk, this slideshow is very redundant to that last slideshow that I showed you. So the only thing we're going to really hammer, I got to find my dead horse to beat. There's a dead horse in this lecture. Can anyone guess what the dead horse might be that I might beat over and over on this lecture?
Air.
Air? What kind of air?
Pressurized.
Air conditioned.
Easy yet
Hot
on
air.
pneumatics? The dead horse is how the APU cannot supply pressure to anti-ice and cowl. And so I'll only say it once and then I'll attempt to stop beating the horse if we can. Display. Okay. So I'm already skipped to slide 6 because that's where we start here. 6th and 10th stage. What is the 6th stage bleeder valve called? Anyone?
High pressure.
Nope, that's the 10th stage. 6th
Low
stage.
pressure.
It's called the bleeder valve. Hey, look at that. The 10th stage has an unfortunate acronym. It's got the HPV acronym.
Oh, right.
I can remember that the 10th stage is that when they refer to HPV, they're referring to your 10th stage. Important for you to understand how these things work. They're automated. You can't select the 6th or 10th stage. We kind of went through this in power plant, so I won't hit it too hard, but here's what bleed air is used for. Distribution is all automatic. You don't have to think about it too much. Here's a picture. Notice where my mouse is right now. Can you see my mouse? Can or not?
Kind of.
The valve, which they didn't put the HPV on there, but it's right there at the 10th stage bleed port. They're known as the same thing. 6th stage bleed port is just a bleed air valve. Takes a little more pressure to open that 10th stage valve. You get the ECS page that shows you what's going on. 45 PSI, I mentioned that number already. Whoops, let me go back. Cabin pressure, cabin temperature is whatever you select. You can make it cold, your mood. You're in the power seat. You can just make it whatever you want. Engine bleed air valves, fail safe. This is what you need to know for your test. If you shut the engines down, clearly the engine bleed air valves shut. They don't remain open. If you push the engine fire push switch light, they also close. And then obviously if the ACSC control signals are moved. So electrically, and they shut down pneumatically too. If you stop running bleed air through them, hey, look at that. When the engine shuts down, the airflow stops. That's what really stops your valves. So I already said all this. Capacity exceeds the 6th stage, it opens the 10th. There's check valves so it doesn't run backwards. Load control valve is controlled by the brains of the APU. So switching gears to the APU, obviously the APU pressurizes it to the same 45 PSI. I'm gonna ask you a question later on the test. It might even be an essay question about when, if you're taking off, say you're taking off, and say you're in toga, and you've just lifted off, cleaned up, and you pull the power back to your climb setting, say the APU is still running, is it going to run the bleed air manifold or is it going to switch to the engines? Hunter, what do you think?
If you, sorry, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, so you've got the APU running and it's running the bleed air system, and you take off, you clean up, and you reduce
It switches to the engines.
It does. So once you clean up,
Yes.
and there's specific parameters. This
It's
is
gear up and flaps less than 20.
exactly. So that's what you need to remember for test purposes. So gear up, flaps less than 20, and also out of the toga detent. So the APU will automatically switch over. Let me go back a slide or two. Isolation valve is one of those things. You can open it if the APU is supplying the bleed air, and it's closed when the engines. It's just basically the isolation valve down here. This one prevents APU and engines from pressurizing the manifold at the same time. You don't want that. It might bust something. Manual mode is important too. You can manually control the isolation valve if you have to. CBTs go into that ad nauseum. And then this is just a general slide that shows you how bleed air is managed. What are the elements of the bleed air management? I think I put this somehow into Jeopardy. I remember putting that into a Jeopardy that we probably won't even get to play. I'm so sad. Sorry. I don't know how we'd play Jeopardy online. That would be like a whole level of skill. I can't even imagine trying to
We
figure
could
out.
still play Kahoot.
We could.
Mm.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if I have the energy to play Kahoot.
Maybe not today, but we could do it.
We should play it. Yeah. Well, because I kind of wasn't sure what was going to go on today, so I'm not sure everybody's actually here at the moment.
Nope.
There's
You
only
guys-
like 15 of us.
Yeah.
The afternoon class would not have any clue that I'm doing this right now, so they're going to.
I'm in the afternoon class. I just happen to get an email, so.
There you go. We got an email. Not everyone's at their computer.
Same.
So.
Afternoon class.
Man.
We're switching to auto mode. Okay, let's move on. Auto mode. Here it is. Here's the slide that says flaps 20 degrees or less or retarded from the toga, and thrust levers retarded from toga. That third bullet, by the way, is the dead horse again. ACSC will not allow APU to supply bleed air to wing. Does anyone know what happens? Say you want bleed air to your wing for anti-ice. Okay. And your APU is running the system, and you switch on the wing or the cal anti-ice, what happens? Does it explode?
Maybe it just overheats, or it's just too many things at once. No?
No, the ICAS will generate you a caution that says bleed misconfig. That's all. And it won't let you open the wing anti-ice valves or the
So it
cal.
won't be open. It won't ever be open, like both of them at the same time. It won't
No.
let you.
Well, it just won't let the APU pressurize the wing and cal anti-ice valve. So it'll just
Okay.
not work, and you'll get a bleed misconfig. So that's a really popular question on the test and quiz. Interlock prevention. Basically, the ACSUs have to close the bleed air valves to open the APU load control. They can't do it at the same time. It's not going to allow you to do something dangerous, in theory. Let's hope, if everything's working. Bleed misconfig, there it is, caution message. That's the one caution message I do ask you about on this. Leak detection, let's just look at a schematic here. It's used to monitor for leaks. And then there's bleed air ducts in the engine pylons and aft equipment bay, and anti-ice ducts in the fuselage and wing. AILC makes sure that nothing's gonna, and bleed air is hot, so it's got 4 zones to monitor it, and you make sure, and dual loops. You can isolate them if you need to. That's all QRH directed, and we're not gonna go into that too deep. Here is the bleed air control panel once again. And the 2 screens, ECS and anti-ice, where you monitor the bleed air. Here's your fire push switch lights. You just, obviously the fire push switch light does more than just turns off the bleed air shutoff valves. There's 7 things that happen, but in the context of this particular lesson, that's what it does. And then here's your, notice there's not too many inhibits on the warning messages in this system. If you're having a bleed air leak, it wants you to reject the takeoff. And typically when you're gonna have a bleed air leak, in my, I think once or twice I had bleed air leaks. One was minor and one was really bad in the cargo compartment. And they happened when I pushed the engine to full power. That's basically when it's gonna happen. If something's not modulating properly, it's gonna be during the takeoff roll. So the only one that is inhibited is the anti-ice duct. You get oral warnings as well for those top 3. What else? You know what's funny? They have a caution and a why am I blanking? Green ones.
Advisory.
Thank you. They have a caution and an advisory message that say bleed misconfig. So that one's a pretty important one to know. Questions? Happy? You guys are probably ready at this point to go take that quiz.
When does that due?
I made it due
Friday.
later.
I
Friday.
think on the 20th.
Friday, right?
Let me look at my schedule here. Whoops. My computer's running really slow right now for some reason. Quit your snoring. God. Oh, they're snoring. How rude. Quiz for March 20th, which would be Friday.
Oh my god, like in a couple days.
2 days. So before you take that quiz, do the Kahoots and the CBTs involved in the lesson. And all it is, this one is ice and rain, environmental controls, pneumatics, the 2 lectures we just went over, and then ice and rain protection.
So we should review ice and rain protection.
Yeah, that and the at 4 p.m. today after everybody, I go through and I just check to see if you submitted your homework.
And that's going to be by 4.
Yeah, I'll do an announcement with a file embedded in the announcement that says homework key so that you have it for study. So if you have anything wrong by then. But yeah, make sure you do the homework. I will open it and look at it, make sure it's completed. I'm not going to correct each person, so I'm just going to see that you submitted something. So good luck. Questions? You guys doing okay? I think
Yep.
this whole thing is going to be kind of like keeping us sane, meeting like this and saying hi. It does me good to see you all.
How's tests gonna work? Like the final exam?
I don't know. I'm going to have to make it harder so you can take it at home.
No.
Are you
No,
kidding
dumb.
me?
no, thank you.
Why would you make it harder?
No.
It's going to be the exact test that
Be
you're gonna
nice to us.
No. I know. My boss even sent an email. He's like, be nice to them. Like, okay, you're going to take the exact test that you would have taken, but of course I can't restrict anything now. So you're going to have everything. It's just still going to be on a timer, which makes it hard.
Man, this virus is a blessing.
It's gonna be like the first. It just
A
wasn't
blessing in
enough time.
disguise.
Oh god.
So, okay, this is, Oh, I can't believe this is only Wednesday of the first week of this. I'll plan on doing this just at 11 o'clock again on Friday. We'll go over whatever the next lesson is. I don't even know at this point.
And you won't be doing it again for your afternoon classes, right? It'll just be one time a day.
I'm not going to do this twice a day.
Well,
Hell no. Hell no.
I would do it if my kids weren't running around. Right now, you can see it's very silent here because I have a friend watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll get interesting. Go forth and prosper. Stay away from other people. Get in the woods if you can. That's what I'm gonna go do right now.
I love.
All right. I'll see you on Friday. If you guys have any questions or anything, you can ask now. Good. Okay.
We're good.
Big hug.
Later.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, let me figure out how to do this. Stop share.
Right.
Oh, I stopped the recording now.
That's a good question.
Recording. Okay, let me see.